Hi everyone, this is Richard. In this video, let's talk about task TResult. So TResult, as we can see, this is going to be a generic. And what we have to keep in mind is, for example, let's say you could put any primitive type inside there, like a string, an int or something. We'll just say string, okay? So if you have task type string inside of here, what you have to remember is that the objects you create from this is a task object that encapsulates a string. So it's not a string, it's a task. So when you return something, by definition, you're going to be returning something, right? You're going to return a task and not a string. So what we have to try to do is to remove the string value from the task, all right? And that's what the await keyword does. The await keyword is used to remove the task function there, or the task aspect, and strip out the stringy goodness from the value, okay? And so let's just see how this works. And so what we use is the async and await. And so async and await was only really used when you return things. If it's a void, you don't need this, but when you return things, then you do. So anytime you're gonna await something, again, the purpose of the await is to strip out the task, right, and get the inside goodness of it. So anytime we're gonna have a task, we're gonna have to use async in front of it so that you can put an await down below. If you don't have an async, you can't use an await, okay? And that's just the way it is. And so here, actually, we'll go down in the very back here. So this is the same thing that we did before. Static async task string first. Notice here it's a little bit different. Before we did task.delay.wait, all right? That's another way of saying it. Or if you're gonna put async up here, you can put await task.delay. And so that'll just wait for this to finish before it returns first. But notice down here, if I'm going to return second, if I'm not going to have an await, why do I have an async? And the purpose of the async here is to actually, when I return this, this is not a string I am returning. This is going to be a task with a string being encapsulated, right? So that's what we're doing. If I remove the async here, then it's not going to return it's not going to return a task. It's going to return a string, and that's what the error happens. So if I delete this, it says represents text cannot implicitly convert string to task. All right, so that's the reason why we use async right inside of here, even though we don't use await. So that's one of the interesting aspects of it. So we're going to use await, async right here, and then we're just going to call some of these first task, second task, third task, and we're just going to make these variables. And this is going to be synchronous. That's no problem. We just make them synchronous itself. And then I'm going to say var tasks equals new. So this is going to be an array, right? So an array of all of these tasks. This happens very quickly. So the 1 second, 3 seconds, 2 seconds has not been activated just yet. And then it's going to go into a while loop. It'll keep looping and looping really, really quickly. Task.length is 3, right? 3 objects right inside here. And I'm going to say var task, completed task equals await task when any tasks. So what task.when any, I always like to point out these are always static classes, .when any .tasks. So it looks for this when any of the values here is completed here, it activates and it gives this a value. But interestingly, why do I put await here? So await I use to strip out the task, right? So what happens here is when you put task when any, this value takes on the task. So you have a task here with a task inside of type string. And so what this does is it strips away one of the tasks. So now you have task string only one time, all right? And so that's the value of completed task. And so if completed task equals first task, if it passes up, then it's going to write first task. Why await first task? Again, it strips away the other task. So we are left with the string. And so what we're doing is we're printing the string right for here, okay? So that's why we need to write await right here. Await, strip this one, await. And how do you know, at least how do I know, that this is going to be a task value itself? Well, you don't. You got to look it up. You got to look at the documentation to actually see what's going on inside of here, okay? it can be a pain in the butt, and sometimes it leads to a lot of errors, but that's why you sometimes just gotta look at bunches of code. And then there is else statements. If it's a first task, second task, third task, and then if it's the task, it's going to go ahead, console, write line, whatever that actually is. And then at the end here, still in the while loop, I'm going to say tasks, right up here, equals array.findAll tasks, okay? If T in the array, find all, and this value, whatever the value actually is, it's no longer equal to completed task. So it's no longer equal inside of here. If it was equal, it'd just keep printing the value. Because it's no longer equal, then the while statement is false. And that's not true, that's not true, that's not true. And so it's not printing anything else, and it waits until something becomes true in this loop. Okay? That's why there's no else statements, only else if. So I hope that was a little bit clear. And so what happens when I run this? Second, first, and third. Okay? Second, first, only 1 second, and third. Let's wait another 4 seconds with that. Let's see what happens here. Second, third, first. Okay, there was a little bit longer of a wait. Second, third, first. So that's correct. So I put 4,000, so it was a little bit extra delay between the third and the first. Okay? So I hope that was clear with async await. Again, I'm still learning. There's a lot of other functionality that you can do with the async and await. But the point is, whenever you're going to return something, put it async in the method and a task, as well as keep in mind using the await to get the value of the task that it encapsulates. The value that is encapsulated by the task. Okay? Thanks.